we have Kyle Walden. Kyle is from right here in Peoria. His college and career goals are to transfer to the University of Illinois for computer engineering, and his dream job would be to work for Intel. Kyle's favorite TED Talk are talks about 3D printing organs and transplanting them. Here is Kyle.
Hello everyone. Like you said, my name is Kyle Walden, and I am here to talk to you all today about something that I hope the majority of you will find to be pretty interesting. But before we get into that, let's take a look up here at these pictures. We've got a car, a prosthetic leg, a pair of running shoes, and a guitar. You might be asking yourself, why am I showing you this? The question you should be asking is, what do these items all have in common? The answer is pretty fascinating. All of these items were created entirely using a process known as additive manufacturing, which is more commonly known as 3D printing. 3D printing is the process of creating a physical three-dimensional object using a digital three-dimensional model from a computer. Let's apply this idea into a real-world situation. Imagine this for a second. You sit down at your computer and go to a website like Amazon. You're looking for a specific product, let's say a pair of shoes, like in the picture. So you find the exact perfect style that you want, you pick your size, you enter your payment information, and you confirm your purchase. But then, what if instead of receiving a receipt or it telling you when it's going to be delivered, instead you hear the box. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. You hear the box-shaped device that's sitting next to your computer. It might look something similar to this. It begins to hum. And just a few seconds later, you hear a beep indicating that the process is complete. And you open up this box to find your brand new pair of shoes right there, ready to wear. This might sound kind of whimsical. It might even sound like science fiction. But in reality, this is a convenience that will be available to everyone within the next few years. Although that scenario was imaginary, the technology behind it is very real. The process of 3D printing is in a way very similar to traditional printing. A printing head moves back and forth very rapidly, creating the object from the bottom up, one layer at a time. This is very similar to how a traditional printer puts ink on paper, one line at a time. This might be slightly difficult for some people to visualize, so I wanted to show a very quick video just to demonstrate the process. No, it already was up there for a second. Sorry about the technical difficulties. So as you can see, this statue is being created from the bottom up by applying thousands of successive layers of the material. That was molten plastic, and as soon as the layer of molten plastic is applied, it cools and hardens almost instantly, effectively creating the object from the bottom up. Depending on what type of material is loaded into the printer, the resulting object can be made of almost anything. Like you saw in that, the statue was created from plastic, but 3D printers are capable of creating metal, wood, even like electrical circuit components. And it can also be a combination of a lot of different materials as well. 3D printing will revolutionize the way that we manufacture anything and everything. Despite the fact that the technology behind 3D printing is very young and still in a stage of development, it is already clear to see that the potential is almost limitless. There have already been cars that are fully operational that people can drive that have been 3D printed. There's been working artificial organs that are actually transplantable into the human body, and they work. There's been functional electronic devices such as headphones, computer parts. There's even been food that has been 3D printed that actually has nutritional value. I don't know that I would want to eat it, but it has been made. But as one might expect, 3D printing does not come cheap. A simple 3D printer, like this one, may only cost you a couple $100, but it would only be capable of producing plastic. But a more advanced one, such as this, which would be capable of producing metal objects, let's say, this could get up in the range of hundreds of thousands of dollars. For this reason, this type of technology is currently only available to large corporations, and this is really not, at this time, at all attainable to the average person. This might lead us to the question, why would the average person want a 3D printer anyway? What I like to tell people is this is the same way that we felt about computers not too long ago. Roughly 50 years ago, it was kind of hard to imagine why anyone would ever need a computer in their home. It seemed that this type of technology would only ever be useful to giant corporations, the military perhaps, that sort of thing, but certainly not the average person. And if someone did decide that they did want a computer, it would be so expensive that there would be no way that they would be able to afford it anyway. But, as you can see at the bottom here, as the technology developed and computers became many times more powerful and more efficient, they also became smaller and therefore more affordable and more attainable to the average person. Today it's very rare to find someone who does not have a computer in their home, and I believe that 3D printing will follow a very similar path. I would imagine though that before 3D printers become home use items, we'll go through a phase where we will pay to print. Let's think about the photo developing service that is offered at Walgreens. A person brings in a camera and they pay to use the equipment belonging to Walgreens to develop their photos. But now imagine that instead of a camera, a person brings in a flash drive or a computer that contains a digital model to be 3D printed, and they would use the equipment belonging to that company to print it. However, very much like photo developing, I believe that this will soon become obsolete, and within the next few years, I believe that 3D printing will be a home use item that everyone will have. However, like all things, 3D printing does have a dark side, or simply just a potential to be abused. Right now, any one of us could go online right now if we knew where to look, and we could download a digital model of an assault rifle or a handgun. And if you did have 3D printing capabilities, you would be able to print off that weapon and it would be able to fire real ammunition. So you can imagine how dangerous that would be. There are also concerns that people will be able to use 3D printing technology to print perfect copies of both paper and metal currency. Because of its potential for abuse, there's already an agreement in place among manufacturers of 3D printers that any paper item that is produced using a 3D printer will contain an invisible watermark indicating that it was indeed created with a 3D printer. This will ensure that paper money, official documents such as passports, driver's license, that type of thing cannot be counterfeited using a 3D printer. Regulations and laws like that on what can and cannot be 3D printed are going to be absolutely crucial once this technology becomes big, because it would really be a shame if this type of technology became illegal and unobtainable just because people were abusing it. Although it is currently in its infancy, 3D printing technology is going to revolutionize the way that we produce almost everything. Rather than actually having to build a product by hand and physically put the parts together in order to have a finished product, we'll instead just be able to download the pre-made digital model and just print it out. The impact that this will have on industry and our economy as a whole is difficult to imagine. Eventually, it's even feasible that 3D printing could completely replace factory workers. Every product that is printed would be a perfect copy of its digital model, which would essentially eliminate human error. Small items that need to be mass produced, such as screws, nails, circuits, electrical components, that type of thing, will all be made from just one model that's copied millions of times. We'll be able to have practically any product that we want just with the click of a mouse. But before this idea can become a reality, we must first learn more about this technology. We need to develop it while also striving to make it more efficient. It needs to be cheaper and therefore more attainable to the average person like you and me. I firmly believe that 3D printing is the future and it will be here before you know it. Thank you.